The bright flash of light in Earth's orbit came without warning. One moment, the space around Earth held only the usual satellites and space stations. The next moment, 5 massive ships appeared out of nowhere. They were beautiful vessels, curved, gleaming, and clearly not made by human hands. Captain Jack Wilson stood on the bridge of the Endeavour, Earth's premier diplomatic vessel. His gray eyes narrowed as he studied the main screen. "Send the standard greeting again," he ordered, his voice calm despite the tension in the room. "And someone get Dr. Reed up here." The communications officer nodded. "Yes, sir. Sending now." Jack rubbed his chin, feeling the stubble there. He had been about to end his shift when the aliens arrived. Now, sleep would have to wait. First contact was something humanity had prepared for, but the reality of it still sent a chill down his spine. Dr. Lisa Reed arrived minutes later, her face flushed from running. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had spent her career preparing. "For this moment, what do we know?" she asked, moving to stand beside Jack. "Not much. 5 ships, no response to our greetings yet." As if on cue, the main screen flickered. A face appeared, humanoid but clearly alien. The being had smooth, pale blue skin, large eyes that caught the light like polished metal, and no visible hair. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "We come in friendship. We are the guardians of the Radiant Collective, and we wish to welcome you to the galactic community." Jack and Lisa exchanged glances. The alien continued. "We have watched your development with great interest. Your species shows remarkable potential. We offer knowledge, protection, and friendship." Commander Tom Davis stepped forward, his military training evident in his rigid posture. "How convenient that you speak our language so well," he said. The alien smiled. At least, Jack thought it was a smile. The expression looked slightly wrong, like someone who had studied human expressions, but never actually felt the emotions behind them. "We have studied your transmissions for many years," the alien explained. "We are quick learners." "What do you want from us?" Jack asked directly. "Want?" "We offer, Captain Wilson. We do not take." Jack tried not to show his surprise at the alien, knowing his name and rank. "We offer technological exchange," the alien continued. "We also seek your assistance with certain mining operations. Your solar system has resources that would benefit us both, and we offer protection from less friendly species in our galaxy." For the next several hours, the conversation continued. The aliens, calling themselves the Guardians, made incredible offers: faster than light travel, medical advances, clean energy. All they asked in return was access to certain areas of the solar system for mining, and the opportunity for cultural exchange. After the initial meeting ended, Jack called his senior officers to the conference room. "Thoughts?" he asked. Commander Davis spoke first. "It's too good to be true. No advanced civilization gives technology away for simple mining rights." Reed nodded slowly. "Did you notice the physiological responses when we asked about other species? Micro-expressions suggesting deception." "You can read alien facial expressions now?" Davis asked skeptically. "Some responses are universal among social species," Lisa replied. "Pupil dilation, changes in breathing patterns, subtle muscle tensions. They were hiding something." Jack leaned forward. "The question is what?" 3 days later, Jack, Lisa, and Tom found themselves invited aboard the alien flagship for what the Guardians called a goodwill tour. Earth's governments had jumped at the opportunity, eager for the promised technology. As they walked through the gleaming corridors of the alien vessel, Jack couldn't shake his unease. Everything was too perfect, too clean. It reminded him of a model home, designed to impress but not actually lived in. Their guide, who called himself Ambassador Gold, a name chosen, he explained, to be easy for humans to pronounce, showed them living quarters, recreation areas, and even some basic technology demonstrations. "And these are our communication centers," Gold said, gesturing to a large room filled with strange equipment. "From here, we maintain contact with the rest of the collective." While Gold was distracted explaining a device to Lisa, Tom casually brushed against a wall, leaving behind a microscopic device. one of several surveillance tools he had brought. That evening, back on the Endeavor, they reviewed the limited data they had gathered. Something isn't right about their ship, Tom said. The living spaces we saw could only house about 50 beings, but energy readings suggest life support for thousands. Where are the others? Jack wondered. Maybe they're hiding something, Lisa suggested. The ship's layout didn't make sense. There were entire sections they carefully directed us away from. Their discussion was interrupted when one of Tom's surveillance devices activated. The small screen showed an empty corridor on the alien ship. Then, 2 Guardians walked into view. Tiawan, human specimens show promising indicators, one said, their voice translated by the device. Yes. Their physical capabilities exceed initial estimates. The harvest potential is significant. Has the Council been informed? Yes. They recommend proceeding with Phase 1, standard integration protocols. The recording ended there. Jack, Lisa, and Tom looked at each other in silence. Harvest potential? Lisa finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Integration protocols, Tom added grimly. Jack's face hardened. It seems our new friends aren't being entirely honest with us. I think we need to find out what they're really here for. How? Lisa asked. We play along, Jack said. We act grateful, excited about their offers. Meanwhile, we gather more information. If they are what I'm beginning to think they are. What's that? Tom asked. Jack's eyes were cold. Slavers. And they've just made the biggest mistake of their lives by targeting humans. As they spoke, more alien ships appeared in Earth's orbit. The Guardians of the Radiant Collective had arrived in force, confident in their superiority, certain of their success. They had done this hundreds of times before with hundreds of species, but they had never met humans before. And as Jack Wilson stared at the surveillance footage, he made a silent promise. If these aliens thought humans would be easy prey, they were about to learn a very painful lesson. The slavers never stood a chance, they just didn't know it yet. Harvest potential, Professor Alan Brown repeated the alien phrase slowly. The old man had spent 40 years breaking codes for Earth's intelligence agencies before retiring. Now, he was needed again. Captain Jack Wilson had called this secret meeting in an underground facility. Only 6 people were in the room. Jack, Lisa, Tom, Professor Brown, Director Helen Ward of Earth's Defense Initiative, and Mark Jones, a former intelligence officer with hard eyes and a talent for uncovering secrets. That's not the worst part, Jack said. He played more recordings from the hidden devices. The aliens spoke of processing centers, conditioning units, and labor value assessments. They're talking about us like we're cattle, Lisa said quietly. Mark Jones leaned forward. I've been digging through astronomical records. 3 other species made contact with advanced civilizations in the last century. All 3 suddenly stopped. All transmissions shortly after. Helen Ward, a tall woman with steel-gray hair, tapped her fingers on the table. Earth's governments are falling over themselves to accept the Guardians' offers. 5 more ships arrived yesterday. We need proof, Tom said. Solid evidence of their true intentions, Jack nodded. That's why I've authorized a covert mission. We're going back to their ship tonight. That's extremely dangerous, Helen objected. We have no choice, Jack replied. They're preparing something. We need to know what. That night, Jack led a small team back to the Guardian flagship. This time, they weren't invited guests. They wore maintenance uniforms and carried equipment that would help them access the restricted areas of the ship. Lisa studied a small scanner. Energy readings suggest large life support systems in this direction, she whispered, pointing down a corridor the aliens had never shown them. They moved silently, using technology developed from studying the aliens' own systems. Tom had noticed that Guardian security relied heavily on biological markers. They simply didn't expect anyone but their own kind to be aboard without permission. Here, Lisa said, stopping at a seemingly blank wall. There's something big behind this. Tom placed a small device against the wall. It hummed quietly, interacting with the ship's systems. The wall slid open, revealing a massive chamber that stretched for hundreds of meters. "My God," Jack whispered. The room was filled with thousands of stasis pods, each large enough to hold a person. Most were empty, but several dozen contained bodies, aliens of various species, all in a deep sleep. "They're collecting specimens," Lisa realized, her voice shaking. "Different species from across the galaxy." Tom checked one of the pods. "Life signs stable but minimal. They're being preserved." A quiet sound made them turn. In the corner, one pod was opening. The team tensed, weapons ready, but what emerged wasn't a guardian. It was a frail, green-skinned alien with 4 arms and large, scared eyes. The alien saw them and froze. Then, in halting English, it spoke. "You. Not them. You. New prey?" Lisa stepped forward slowly. "We're humans. From Earth. We're trying to understand what's happening here." The alien's eyes widened. "You still free? Not yet taken?" "What do you mean, taken?" Jack asked. "The masters, you call guardians, they come with gifts. Then they take. They took my people. 3 cycles ago. Few remain free." Over the next few minutes, they learned the alien's name was Krell. His home world had been visited by the Guardians years earlier. The same promises were made. Then came mind control broadcasts, selective breeding programs, and finally, mass collection of his people for labor across the galaxy. "We need to get him out of here," Jack decided, and check the other pods. They found 3 more conscious beings, each with a similar story. Working quickly, they helped the aliens into transport bags usually used for equipment. Time was running out. As they approached their exit point, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. "They've discovered the empty pods," Tom said. "Run." They barely made it back to their shuttle, Guardian security forces closing in behind them. The shuttle detached from the massive ship and accelerated away, its engines straining. 3 Guardian vessels pursued them, weapons charging. "We'll never outrun them," Tom said grimly. Jack smiled. "We don't need to. Now, Helen." From the dark side of Earth's moon, 3 Earth ships appeared. They weren't supposed to exist. Experimental vessels built in secret, using technology Earth had been developing independently. The Guardian ships hesitated, clearly surprised. That moment of confusion was all Earth ships needed. They fired strange weapons that didn't destroy the Guardian vessels, but left them drifting powerless in space. Back on Earth, in the same underground facility, Krell and the other rescued aliens told their stories to a shocked group of Earth's leaders. "The Radiant Collective is a lie," Krell explained. "They are servants themselves. The real masters stay hidden, using the Guardians as their public face." "How many species have they enslaved?" Helen asked. "Hundreds," another alien answered. "For thousands of your years." Professor Brown had been analyzing the data stolen from the Guardian ship. "This is remarkable," he said. "According to these files, they've been watching Earth for centuries. They wait until a species reaches a certain technological level, then make contact." "But why wait?" Lisa asked. "They want species advanced enough to be useful workers, but not advanced enough to be a threat," Brown explained. Mark Jones spread out images he'd gathered. "I've found evidence of their ships in historical records. They've visited before, observing us." "If they've done this hundreds of times," Jack said, "why do they keep succeeding? Surely some species must have fought back." Krell made a sad sound. "The masters have perfect system. First gifts, then mind control through technology given as entertainment, then breeding programs. By the time a species realizes truth, too late." "But you said some of your people remain free?" Lisa asked. "Small groups, hiding, no technology, cannot fight back." Jack looked at the others. "We have an advantage. We know their plan now, and they don't know we know." Helen nodded slowly. "We need to play along. Make them think their plan is working. Meanwhile," Tom added, "we prepare our defenses in secret." "Not just defenses," Jack said, his eyes hard. "If what Krell says is true, there are hundreds of enslaved species out there. We're not just going to protect ourselves. What are you suggesting? Helen asked. Jack looked at each person in the room. I'm suggesting we do what humans do best. Adapt, overcome, and free those who can't free themselves. You want to fight an enemy that controls hundreds of worlds? Professor Brown asked incredulously. No, Jack replied. I want to beat them at their own game. They think we're primitive. They think we'll follow the same pattern as every other species they've enslaved. He smiled grimly. Let's show them how dangerous a cornered human can be. Outside, more Guardian ships entered Earth orbit, bearing gifts and promises. They had no idea that humans already knew the truth, and were preparing a welcome the slavers would never forget. Your people need more time, Krell said, watching Dr. James Miller work. The Masters will begin mind control broadcasts soon. Dr. Miller didn't look up from his computer. As Earth's leading AI researcher, he had been working non-stop for 3 days. Dark circles hung under his eyes. How soon? He asked. 1 Earth week, maybe less. In the month since discovering the truth about the Guardians, Earth had been playing a dangerous game. On the surface, world leaders welcomed the aliens with open arms. They accepted gifts, signed agreements, and acted grateful for the advanced technology the Guardians offered. Behind the scenes, a different story unfolded. General Robert Taylor stood in the war room looking at a global map. Red dots showed Guardian landing sites. There were hundreds now. They're establishing broadcast towers here, and here, he said, pointing to major cities. Officially, they're cultural exchange centers. Actually, they're mind control stations. Captain Jack nodded grimly. Just as Krell warned us. The rescued alien had become their most valuable asset. Krell knew the slavers' methods, their weaknesses, and their timetable. The good news, Lisa said, entering the room with a tablet, is that we've analyzed their mind control technology. It works by stimulating certain brain patterns. And the bad news? Jack asked. It's incredibly effective. Once fully deployed, 90% of humans would be under their influence within days. The room fell silent. Then Dr. Miller looked up from his computer. Not if we deploy this first, he said, turning his screen to show complex code. It's a counter-broadcast. It won't block their signal completely, but it will reduce effectiveness to about 30%. That's still millions of people under their control, General Taylor said. We don't need to protect everyone, Jack replied. Just enough to fight back. Mark Jones joined them, carrying reports. The Guardian ships show a clear hierarchy. Most are just transport vessels with minimal defenses. Only the command ships have serious weapons. Makes sense, Tom said. They're not expecting resistance. They've done this hundreds of times without failing. Their arrogance is their weakness, Helen added. They think we're following their standard playbook. Jack turned to Krell. You said the Guardians are servants themselves. Who are their masters? The overseers, Krell replied. Rarely seen, stay on biggest ships. Have they arrived yet? No. Come only when planet is secure. Jack smiled. Then we still have time. Over the next 2 weeks, Earth prepared in secret. On the surface, humans accepted the aliens' gifts eagerly. The Guardians began broadcasting what they called entertainment. Programs through the technology they'd given to humans. People who watched too long became strangely compliant, eager to please the aliens. But Earth was ready. Dr. Miller's counter-broadcast went out through old-fashioned radio waves, reaching people before they fell under alien influence. It carried simple instructions. Act normal. Pretend to be affected. Gather information. Meanwhile, General Taylor established a resistance network using technology so old the aliens couldn't detect it. Paper messages, analog radios, and face-to-face meetings. In an underground facility, Professor Brown made another breakthrough. I've been studying their ship designs, he told Jack. They're impressive but extremely standardized, no variation. It's like they haven't invented anything new in centuries. They don't need to, Lisa explained. When you've conquered hundreds of species, you stop innovating. Why would they change what works? Because it makes them predictable. Jack said, and predictable enemies can be defeated. Mark had discovered something else. Using information from Krell, humans had managed to tap into the aliens' communication network. They couldn't understand everything, but they learned enough to know the Guardians were pleased with Earth's progress. They think everything is going according to plan, Mark reported. They're preparing for the collection phase in 1 month. What's the collection phase? Helen asked Krell. The alien's forearms trembled slightly. When they take first batch of humans, strongest ones for processing. How many? General Taylor asked quietly. First collection usually 10 million. The humans looked at each other in horror. 10 million people. We move before that happens, Jack said firmly. Are the special ships ready? Helen nodded. 6 vessels, built with no electronic components that their scanners could detect. Wooden hulls reinforced with carbon fiber, mechanical systems only. Primitive by their standards, Tom added, but invisible to their technology. And our weapons? Dr. Miller answered this time. We've reverse-engineered some of their technology. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles. They have nothing to stop what we've built. Which is? Low-tech, high-impact, Miller said with a small smile. Sometimes the old ways are best. In another part of the facility, Paul Green, a brilliant engineer, worked with teams to build special devices. They looked simple, almost crude, but each contained elements that would bypass alien defenses. Their technology is advanced but narrow, Paul explained to a group of engineers. They've only prepared for enemies who fight the way they do. 1 month after the Guardians' arrival, they began the next phase of their plan. Special medical centers were established where humans were invited for free health checks. Those who entered were scanned, categorized, and marked for collection. The aliens were using their standard protocol, the same one that had worked on hundreds of other species. What they didn't know was that every human who entered these centers was actually part of the resistance. Each one carried hidden devices that scanned alien technology and transmitted data back to Earth's defense teams. From orbit, the largest Guardian ship received a transmission. The message was encrypted, meant only for high-level commanders. Earth progressing perfectly. Human compliance rate at expected levels. Recommend Overseer arrival in 7 days to begin first collection. The Guardian commander sent his approval. Everything was going exactly as planned. After centuries of conquering species across the galaxy, they had their system perfected. In the underground facility, Jack received word of the transmission. We have 7 days before their leader arrives, he told the assembled humans and their alien allies, now 5 rescued beings from different worlds. Will you be ready? Krell asked. Jack looked around the room at the determined faces of scientists, soldiers, and ordinary people who had been working tirelessly to save their world. We'll be ready, he said. The slavers think this is just another routine conquest. He picked up a strange device that Paul had built, a simple-looking wooden box with complex technology hidden inside. They have no idea what's coming. Outside, Guardian ships moved peacefully in Earth's orbit, their crews confident and relaxed. After all, they had conquered hundreds of worlds this way. This was just one more routine harvest. They never suspected that below them, humans were about to change the rules of the game entirely. The massive ship that entered Earth's orbit was different from the others. While Guardian vessels were sleek and beautiful, this one was enormous and looked like a floating fortress. Dark metal plates covered its surface, and strange energy readings pulsed from its core. The Overseer has arrived, Krell whispered, a tremor in his voice. Admiral Susan Wright, commander of Earth's hidden fleet, watched the alien vessel from her command center deep under the Pacific Ocean. 6 unmarked ships waited in underwater docks, vessels unlike anything humans had built before. They were made of wood and carbon fiber with mechanical engines, no electronics, no signals, invisible to Guardian scans. It's time, she said to her crew. Alert all teams. On the alien command ship, the Overseer received reports from his Guardian servants. The Overseer was tall, with gray skin stretched tight over sharp bones. His eyes were black and cold. Unlike the Guardians, who at least looked somewhat friendly, the Overseer was built for fear. "The human harvest appears optimal," a Guardian reported. "Collection ships are ready." The Overseer made a sound like stones grinding together, a laugh. "Begin the collection. Standard protocol." Across Earth, Guardian ships descended toward major cities. Their holds were empty, ready to be filled with the first batch of humans, 10 million strong workers selected through their medical centers. Inside the ships, the aliens checked their restraint systems and processing machines. The equipment had been used countless times before on hundreds of species. There was no reason to expect problems. In Washington, D.C., Jack Wilson stood in a park as a collection ship hovered overhead. Beside him, Lisa and Tom looked up calmly. "Ready?" Jack asked. They nodded. Jack pressed a small device in his pocket. It sent a simple signal, 3 clicks, a pause, then 2 more. Around the world, hidden transmitters activated. The signal bounced between old radio towers through undersea cables and via systems so primitive the aliens had ignored them. The message reached every resistance cell on Earth. "Begin." Admiral Wright received the signal in her command center. "Launch ships," she ordered. The 6 wooden vessels slipped from their underwater bases and rose silently toward the surface. They carried no modern weapons, no missiles, no lasers, nothing the aliens would recognize as a threat. In orbit, a Guardian officer frowned at his monitor. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual weather patterns." "Irrelevant," his commander replied. "Continue the collection." The first Guardian ship opened its doors over New York City, ready to deploy capture teams. Then something strange happened. Their systems flickered, power levels dropped. "What is happening?" the commander demanded. On his screen, tiny objects appeared, thousands of them rising from the ground. Each was no larger than a human hand built from wood and simple metal parts. They attached themselves to the ship's hull and began to vibrate at a specific frequency. Paul Green watched from a rooftop, smiling as his devices worked. "Resonance frequency," he explained to the soldiers with him. "Every structure has one. Hit the right note and the strongest material shatters like glass." The Guardian ship began to shake. Hairline cracks appeared in its supposedly indestructible hull. Systems failed as the vibrations disrupted delicate components. This same scene played out in cities worldwide. The collection ships, designed to intimidate and capture, found themselves under attack by technology so simple it had never been considered a threat. In orbit, the Overseer received panicked reports. "Impossible," he snarled. "They are primitives." Turned to his communications officer. "Call in the battle fleet." But the officer was staring at his console in confusion. "Sir, I cannot establish contact. All channels are filled with noise." Dr. Miller smiled as he monitored his jammers. Simple radio noise, broadcast at enormous power across all frequencies the aliens used. Sometimes the old ways worked best. Under the Atlantic Ocean, Admiral Wright's fleet approached the Guardian command ships. These vessels still posed a threat. They had to be neutralized. "Deploy the swimmers," she ordered. From her ships, special teams emerged wearing equipment that looked more suited to the 19th century than the 22nd. They carried harpoon-like devices powered by compressed air. No electronics, nothing to trigger the aliens' advanced sensors. The swimmers reached the massive Guardian vessels and attached their devices to specific points on the hulls. Points Krell had identified as critical. When triggered, the devices didn't explode. Instead, they injected a special compound into the ship's material. The compound began to eat through the alien metal like acid through paper. In orbit, the Overseer's fury grew as more reports came in. Collection ships were failing worldwide. Command vessels were reporting critical hull breaches. And now something new was happening. Around the world, the Guardian cultural centers, the mind control broadcast stations, came under attack. Not from missiles or bombs, but from ordinary humans armed with simple tools and Paul's resonance. "Devices. This cannot be happening," the Overseer raged. No species has ever resisted the protocol. On his screen, a face appeared, Jack Wilson. Hello, slaver, Jack said calmly. I think we need to talk. The overseer's eyes narrowed. How are you accessing this channel? We've been studying your technology, Jack replied. You've been using the same systems for what, 1,000 years, 2,000, you got lazy. For the first time in centuries, the overseer felt something close to fear. What do you want? Right now? I want you to look out your viewport. The overseer turned to the large window that showed Earth below. Something was rising from the planet, hundreds of vessels. Not the primitive wooden ships, but modern human craft. They had been hiding, waiting for this moment. This is Admiral Susan Wright of Earth United Defense, a new voice said over the communication system. Your collection ships are disabled. Your command vessels are compromised. You are surrounded. The overseer looked at the ships in disbelief. How? Our scans showed no fleet of this size. We hid them the old way, Susan replied. In underground bunkers, underwater bases, and caves. Places your fancy sensors don't bother to check. On Earth, Lisa watched satellite feeds of the confrontation. It's working, she breathed. Tom nodded. They never expected us to fight back this way. They prepared for high technology, not wooden ships and vibration devices. In cities around the world, Guardian forces found themselves surrounded by humans who were supposed to be under mind control. The aliens' weapons, designed to overpower advanced technology, had little effect on determined humans using simple tools and overwhelming numbers. On the command ship, the overseer made a decision. He reached for the emergency beacon, the OW, signal to call the main fleet, but when he activated it, nothing happened. Your communications are being jammed, Jack explained, and before you try something desperate, you should know that we've already contacted your other victims. The overseer froze. What? Krell helped us modify your own communication network. We've sent messages to every world you've enslaved. The revolution isn't just happening here. It's happening everywhere. For the first time in 1,000 years, the overseer, master of the greatest slaving empire the galaxy had ever known, realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had chosen to enslave the wrong species. Humans had never stood a chance of being conquered, because humans changed the rules of the game. Humans unveil the hidden truth. The slavers never stood a chance. True Story Part 5. Liberation and New Galactic Order. The overseer stood in chains before the Earth Council. His tall gray form seemed smaller now, less frightening. Guards watched him closely, both humans and aliens from worlds the slavers had conquered. How long? Representative Lucas Martin asked. The diplomat's voice was calm but firm. How long has your empire existed? The overseer's black eyes revealed nothing. Longer than your species has walked upright. 3 months had passed since the day Earth turned the tables on the would-be slavers. The victory had been swift but not without cost. Thousands had died in the fighting. Millions more had fallen temporarily under alien control before being freed. But Earth had won, and not just Earth. Reports from the Centauri system confirm it, Helen said, entering the council room with a tablet. 3 more slave worlds liberated. That makes 27 in total. Jack Wilson smiled. He wore a new uniform now, marked with symbols of Earth's United Defense Forces. The dominoes keep falling. The room was filled with both humans and aliens, representatives from a dozen species who had traveled to Earth after hearing of the impossible victory. Among them sat Krell, no longer frightened, but standing tall with his 4 arms held proudly. We believed freedom was impossible, Krell said. For 1,000 years we believed this. In orbit above Earth, the remains of the slaver fleet drifted under guard. Some ships had been captured intact. Others were being studied by Earth scientists and engineers. With each passing day, more secrets were uncovered. Dr. Lisa Reed entered the council chamber, excitement clear on her face. We've confirmed it, she announced. The genetic tests are conclusive. Tell them, Jack encouraged. Lisa took a deep breath. The Guardians, The blue-skinned aliens who first contacted us, they aren't a separate species. They're modified humans. Murmurs filled the room. Explain, Lucas demanded. Their DNA shows clear signs of extensive engineering, but the base pattern is human, Lisa continued. We think they were taken from Earth thousands of years ago and modified to serve the slavers. The overseer remained silent, but his eyes narrowed slightly. Tom Davis, who had been studying the slaver records, added, according to their historical data, the slavers visited Earth multiple times in our ancient past. They took samples, people, each time, but they never conquered us, Jack said. Why? All eyes turned to the overseer. For a long moment he said nothing. Then finally he spoke. Your kind were problematic. Problematic how? Resistance to mental conditioning, tendency toward rebellion, unpredictable behavior patterns. The overseer's voice was flat, emotionless. Cost-benefit analysis indicated Earth would require excessive resources to subdue completely. Jack laughed. So you gave up on conquering us thousands of years ago, but you still came back. Periodic harvesting was deemed acceptable. Small groups taken for specialized purposes. Lisa understood first. The ancient myths, people vanishing, without explanation, abductions. You've been stealing humans for your experiments for centuries, and we were turning your own people into your servants, Tom added. The Guardians are just modified humans. The overseer's silence confirmed their theories. Admiral Susan Wright, who had led Earth's fleet in the battle, stepped forward. That's why your standard protocol failed. You've been using techniques developed to control more straightforward species, but humans adapt, Jack finished. We see patterns. We question things that seem too good to be true. Professor Alan Brown had been quiet until now, studying ancient texts. There's more, he said. I've been comparing slaver technology with our own historical development. We've been finding pieces of advanced technology throughout our history, objects, and materials that seemed ahead of their time. What are you suggesting? Lucas asked. I believe some humans escaped from the slavers in the past. They returned to Earth, bringing knowledge with them. Our technological development has been boosted by these returns. The overseer hissed. Enough! What do you want from me? Lucas stood. Location of all slave worlds, access codes to your empire's central systems, and the truth about your origins. And if I refuse? Jack smiled. Then we continue freeing worlds, one by one. It will take longer, but we're patient, and we have something your empire never expected. What is that? Allies who hate you as much as we do. The next day, the overseer revealed everything. The slaver empire had central control systems hidden on a world at the edge of the galaxy. With the codes and locations, Earth could shut down the entire operation. On a clear morning 1 week later, ships gathered above Earth, vessels from 24 liberated worlds. At their center was Earth's newest ship, the Liberation, commanded by Captain Jack Wilson. All ships report ready, Lisa said from her station beside him. Jack looked at his diverse crew, humans working alongside beings from across the galaxy. Tom managed security, with alien warriors under his command. Professor Brown had developed translation systems allowing all species to communicate clearly. Captain, Krell said from his position at sensors, the human news services are broadcasting your departure to your world. Jack nodded. Put it on screen. Lucas Martin's face appeared. He stood before the Earth Council. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. The Liberation Fleet departs to free the remaining worlds under slaver control. Led by Earth but crewed by beings from across the stars, these ships carry with them the most powerful force the galaxy has ever known, the desire for freedom. As the transmission ended, Jack gave the order. All ships prepare for departure. The fleet moved away from Earth, accelerating toward the stars. Their mission would not be easy. Many challenges waited ahead, but Jack felt confident as he looked at his crew. You know, Tom said quietly, the slavers never understood what they were dealing with. How so? Lisa asked. They saw our divisions, our conflicts, our messiness as weaknesses. They didn't realize those things made us strong. Jack nodded. Humans argue, we fight, we question everything, including each other. No mind control could ever fully suppress that. The ship entered faster than light travel, stars stretching into lines of light around them. Behind them, Earth continued its own healing and building. Ahead lay worlds waiting to be freed. The slavers had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had conquered hundreds of species, built an empire on suffering and control. But they had never encountered humans before. They never understood that humans would not just save themselves, they would save everyone else too. The slavers truly never stood a chance, and now the galaxy would be free.